There isn't a whole lot to do in this small town, at least not for the younger generations. We have a couple of parks, a roller ring, a swimming pool, and that's about it. You can only go swimming and rollerblading so many times before it becomes repetitive and boring. My younger brother is always complaining about there not being anything to do here. He's 11. There's a 14-year age gap between us, so I'm a fair bit older than he is. One day he saw an ad about pop-up laser tag coming to town, but only for one day. You had to book in advance. Our parents both had other commitments that day, so of course I offered to take him and a couple of his friends. I invited two of my friends to come as well, and we booked the tickets. It was set up at the football ovals, an assortment of large inflatable rooms with tunnels connecting them all together. My brother and his friends could barely contain their excitement as we scanned our tickets at the entrance and went inside. We got suited up and the employees explained that there would be 8 rounds, each lasting 20 minutes. At the end of each round, a door would open and we would move on to the next room. We entered the first room and an automated voice said round 1. The lights went out, but the fluorescent paint splattered throughout the interior of the room made it easy to see. We were all having a great time. There were about 16 of us in total. My brother had invited 3 of his friends and they were on a team together. I was on a team with my 2 friends, and there was another 2 teams of 5 and 4. Because it was a small town, we all knew each other. During the first round, I could see a man laying down in the shadows behind a bunch of large inflatable props. I assumed he was just hiding until round 1 ended and all the lights came back on. It was Darren from the hardware store, and he was laying in a puddle of sweat, having a seizure. An employee quickly rushed in, already on the phone to who I assumed was emergency services. She crouched down beside Darren, and he stopped convulsing but did not regain consciousness. Before anyone could react, a curtain opened and we were ushered into the next room by a different employee. What happened to Darren definitely killed the vibe, but help was on the way and we had all paid good money for the experience, so we continued playing. The next room had loud heavy metal music playing in the background. It was also a bit darker than the last room. At the end of round 2, the music stopped and the lights came back on. This time there were 2 people sitting down against the inflatable walls, surrounded by pools of vomit. A primary school teacher and the supermarket manager. The teacher was unconscious. The supermarket manager was still violently throwing up. Again, one of the employees rushed into the room on the phone to someone. This time all the participants were scared, angry, and wanted to know why 3 people had become seriously unwell while playing laser tag. Another laser tag employee came into the room. She was an older woman who looked very important, probably the manager. "Calm down, everyone," she stated firmly. We all stopped talking and looked at her. "Sometimes the flashing lights and noises can make people feel sick. That's why you all signed a waiver. It's nothing to be concerned about." Usually I wouldn't be satisfied with an explanation like that, but it was true. We had all signed a waiver when purchasing tickets. I hadn't actually read it though, and I doubt anyone else had. The next curtain opened and the older woman, with an air of authority, directed us into the next room. As if in a trance, we all went in, despite our concerns. We played round 3, but there was no longer any enjoyment. We were all just doing what was expected. This time, when the lights came on, 3 people were missing, including 2 of my brother's friends. The curtain opened and everyone went in, seemingly without noticing that anyone had disappeared. My brother and his remaining friend refused to move. Me and my two friends wouldn't go in either. "Where are my friends?" my brother yelled, but there was no response. The room started to fill with a fine mist. I happened to have a box cutter in my pocket and immediately started tearing through the inflatable walls. We all pushed through the opening and tumbled out onto the grass. There were a bunch of guys in bright green uniforms waiting on the other side with baseball bats. They started swinging, but I couldn't feel anything. A sudden rush of adrenaline allowed me to scoop my brother up, throw him over my shoulder and run, leaving our friends behind. I didn't stop running until we got to the car. Once we were inside, I locked the doors and drove away as fast as possible. When we were home, I tried to call the police, but discovered that my phone was completely dead and wouldn't charge. Our parents still weren't back yet, so I couldn't call from their phones, and I really didn't feel like leaving the safety of our house. By the time our parents returned and I was able to call the police, the ovals were completely deserted. None of the people who got sick or went missing were ever found. Our friends and the only other survivor were found badly injured wandering the streets with no memory of what happened. One of my friends was missing an eye, and the woman who survived the 8 rounds of laser tag had an unusual tattoo on the back of her neck that wasn't there before. It's an ongoing investigation, but the police still have no idea what happened or who the laser tag people were.